This is the best short ribs you'll ever try in your life, and probably the best meat you'll ever put in your mouth. It's so good that Michelin doesn't have enough stars for it, and I'm going to show you exactly how to make it at home. I'll even tell you the secret if you're either too busy or too lazy, so it practically cooks itself. To start, we talk short rib. In my opinion, one of the tastiest cuts of beef and severely underappreciated. Here we have 2 kilos or 4.5 pounds of short rib. This one specifically is from Black Angus, prized for its great fat marbling, which translates to incredibly juicy, tasty meat. If you buy this from a place like Costco, it'll come in these vacuum bags, which is a good thing as the meat ages inside to develop great flavor and texture. You might find them cut already or in chunks like this, usually consisting of 3 to 4 bones. If it's whole, you find the meat between the ribs and cut between them. Try not to hit the bone. As you can see, this meat is incredibly marbled and almost look like Wagyu. Those delicious slices of meat you get to cook yourself in a Japanese yakiniku. But not to be fooled, it's not Wagyu, and if not cooked correctly, it can be tough as boots. We'll leave the fat on, especially the part around the bone, which is a mix of gelatin-rich connective tissue and fat. Once cooked, it's the holy grail of texture and flavor. So good that you won't find it anywhere else in the universe and will most likely remember it for all eternity. Once your rib is prepped, set it to the side for a second. We're going to make a classic base to braise it in, consisting of some veggies, wine and stock. Firstly, you clean 2 large onions and slice them thinly, but not too thinly. The idea is to caramelize them somewhat to bring out their natural sweetness. Set that aside, then peel top and tail 2 large carrots. Cut them up into a few rounds or chunks. 2 celery sticks goes under the knife. And likewise, just some roughly equal pieces. No need to be too precise here. You can add those to the carrots, then preferably half a nice, fresh, large garlic. Cut it horizontally so the garlic can cook into the sauce. Add that to the celery and the carrots. We also need 50 grams or 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, a few bay leaves, or use rosemary if you like. Optionally, but highly recommended, 4 grams or a tablespoon of ground coriander, 2 liters of beef stock, which can be store-bought, or you can watch my roast dinner video, which I'll link to in the description. It shows you how to make your own beef stock from scratch, which, of course, is way better than store-bought. Anyway, your life, your choice. Last but not least, we need a bottle of average quality drinking red wine. Nowadays, you can get alcohol-free red wine, or you can simply replace it with more stock. If you absolutely, categorically cannot and will not use red wine, it's okay. It'll still taste amazing without it. Before you cook, set your oven to 150 degrees Celsius or 302 degrees Fahrenheit, which will result in tender, heavenly short rib within 3 to 4 hours. If you're busy or lazy, cook it at 85 degrees Celsius or 185 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 to 12 hours. Place a casserole dish or heavy-bottomed pan over medium-high heat and add a touch of olive oil. Season your meat generously all over. Give the rib a good hard sear. Make sure to not burn it and move it around often. I'll mention it a few times, but a braise is a layered dish, meaning it's built with layers of flavor, resulting in a very complex, nuanced dish. And if you introduce burnt flavors, it carries through to the final result. So as I always say, avoiding problems is easier than dealing with them. As the rib sears, a lot of the fat will render down. Once all the sides are beautifully browned, remove from the pan and set it aside. Scoop out most of the rendered fat into a bowl. You can use it to roast potatoes or fry an egg, if you want to minimize waste. Otherwise, cool it down and bin it. Do not throw it down the sink, unless you have a plumber fetish. Into the same pan with some fat left in it goes the onions. Cook these without adding salt, because we want to caramelize them a touch, and also if we salt it now, the sauce in the end will be over salty, but back to that a little bit later. Keep moving the onions to avoid any sugars from catching on the bottom. These enamel-coated Dutch ovens are the golden standard for braising, but especially prone to catching, so simply scrape and move it all the time. Once the onions are just about turning brown, add the rest of the veggies. Give them a few swirls just to force a friendship with the onions. The real function happens during the braise. Add tomato paste and cook it out for a minute or so. Next you add your red wine. You want to reduce it until it's almost just a syrup left in the pan. The tartness will cook away and the harshness will mellow out. If you don't do this, the balance will be off in the final result. Once reduced, you add your short ribs, followed by the beef stock, which should almost cover the meat. And as you know, I love using a good old-fashioned cartouche, a piece of parchment that sits on top of the braise, that keeps the moisture and the temperature balanced just right. It's a small detail, but it makes a massive difference. Into the oven it goes. And now for the biggest secret that makes this recipe a gazillion times better than anything out there ever tasted. A chocolate barbecue glaze, like no other. And once you've finished barbecue or roasted meats with this, you'll forever demand it. Good news, it's a quick throw together jobby in a saucepan, and then it lasts basically forever in the fridge. Into a saucepan goes 225 grams or 1 cup of tomato ketchup, 100 grams or half a cup of kecap manis, which is sweet Indonesian soy sauce cooked with molasses. If you can't find it, I leave a recipe below, or simply look for some sweet soy sauce in the Asian foods aisle. 30 grams or 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, 50 grams or 3 tablespoons of dark soy sauce, 25 grams or 1.5 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, 50 grams or a quarter cup of brown sugar, a few dashes of Tabasco sauce, 25 grams or 2 tablespoons of 70% dark chocolate. Use pure 70% and up chocolate, very important. You cannot throw a Snickers bar in here. Won't work, but it will make you fat. 5 grams or 1 teaspoon of liquid smoke, which is simply smoked water. 4 grams or 2 teaspoons of ginger powder. And finally, thank God, 4 grams and 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. Now give that all a little whisk and continue doing so over medium heat until it bubbles. And everything is homogeneous, melted and smelling good. We're almost to short rib heaven, where the monsters can't get you. Anyway, into a container and cool it down for now. Now would be a good time to cook any potential side dishes. I prefer creamy mashed potatoes, which I also have a very special video for. Link below for your easy enjoyment. After 3 hours, check on your meat, or more importantly, the rib in the oven. It's done when it's fork tender, has a slight jiggle but yields under pressure. It should not resist and it should not collapse and fall apart. To give you an idea of how ridiculously good the stuff is, look at that rendered, glistening fat marbling between the meat fibers. As far as texture goes, I think it speaks for itself. Very carefully remove the short rib from the braising dish. Take care not to lose the bone. But if you do, don't cry, life is good. You'll see a ton of fat on the surface, which will skim off using a ladle. Do this gently so you don't ladle out the money beneath, which is the base for our sauce. Once most of the fat is skimmed, but not all of it, follow the same rule. Chill it to solidify, then bin it. Or throw it into the sink and call the plumber. Whatever makes you happy. Pour the remaining liquid through a sieve. Tap out the liquid stuck in the veggies, but don't press on it. Because it's soft, it'll end up in the sauce, which is not desirable this time. You'll see a little layer of fat floating on top of the liquid. We want this, and it's good. Remember, everything is good within reasonable amounts. For now, you want to steadily simmer the sauce until it reduces by half. Meanwhile, whack your oven to 230 degrees Celsius or 446 degrees Fahrenheit for the final stage. Once reduced, we balance and thicken it. Season with a touch of salt if you wish and a little squeeze of lemon juice. You'll notice that we only seasoned the meat at the start. Very important, because we reduced the sauce, we only do the final seasoning now. Otherwise, if you seasoned it heavily at the start, the sauce would now be inedibly salty. Not good. We thicken the sauce with a little touch of cornstarch mixed with water. A very Asian technique I prefer over dipping and frying the meat in flour, which has its place in some recipes. This way makes it lighter, silkier, and the flavor comes through better. Whisk it in and keep whisking until it thickens. The final sauce should be light and not too sticky. Once that's done, set aside and place your short ribs onto an oven tray. Brush them all over with the barbecue glaze we made earlier. Roast in your preheated oven for a few minutes. But keep a close eye on it so it does not burn. The glaze burns very easily because of the sugars inside. Once it starts to char a little bit and takes on a leathery, shiny look, we are ready to go to our happy place. Place a generous bit of creamy mashed potatoes into a bowl. Your favorite piece of rib, whichever it may be, a ladle and a half or two of our delicious shiny sauce, a grinding of black pepper and a sprinkling of chopped chives. But most importantly, go live a happy life.